Hey Riley, how are you?
Doing good, I guess.
So I know that you and I have been having some differences, or it seems like we've been having some differences about my children and what's acceptable behavior, from each of us as neighbors. And I know you have your boundaries for how you want to be treated as a neighbor, and as you want yourself and your property to be treated, as do I. I have certain ways that I want myself and my children and my home to be treated. So I was wondering if you would be willing to discuss this today so we can resolve some of the issues we've been having.
Yeah, I definitely think we should. I know we have a lot to talk about, and I'd really, really like to put it out there and figure out really, where we're both coming from and try to understand this better.
All right, great. So I kind of want to understand things from your side of the story, from your perspective. So would you like to talk about what's been going on with you first?
Yeah, of course. I would love to. Well, I just feel kind of disrespected a little bit, because we've both been neighbors for a long time, and like it says, it's a quiet neighborhood here, and it feels like a lot of times it's, going through my yard and things, and I just feel like we're not putting the same amount of effort into, keeping the quiet neighborhood quiet sometimes.
Okay, so um, you're saying you feel kind of disrespected because my children have been kind of taking advantage of your property, walking through your yard and everything, being loud and noisy and distracting. And you just feel like I've been kind of neglectful in addressing that situation.
Yeah, I don't want to say that harsh and neglectful, but like it feels like we're not putting the same amount of effort into keeping, like I said, keeping the quiet neighborhood quiet. And I know that that's one of the perks of living here was that it's going to be really quiet and nice, and everybody here keeps really good track of our yards and everything, and sometimes I feel like I have to put extra effort into keeping my yard clean and neat because sometimes the Alex and Joe come through my yard accidentally, nick the side of it, and it's been difficult at times with that.
Okay. What else have you been kind of feeling since we've been neighbors and we've been having these issues?
Well, a lot about it. I feel like sometimes maybe we aren't putting the same, not effort, but like to being close neighbors. I don't think I've ever really got to know you, and I feel kind of alienated sometimes. We don't ever talk. We don't ever get to know each other, and I think that's a problem too because I feel my other neighbor we're pretty close. Me and Josh are good friends, and we hang out. And we've never really put in the time to get to know each other. So that's another problem. It feels kind of isolated here from your side. It feels like there's a strict divide between our yards, and it would be nice to break that.
Okay. So what do you feel like I've been doing to kind of prevent you and I from developing a neighborly relationship?
Well, we've never. I mean, I know you're busy. I understand that you're not home a lot, but a lot of times it just seems like it's just your kids that I see. I never see you around. It's always just your kids, and I feel like a lot of animosities build up because I've just been mad at your kids all the time. But in all honesty, I've never really had the opportunity to get to know you at all, and a lot of it goes back to bigger things like the rose bush. I know that that's a big, problem right now. Me demanding money and everything, but I know that maybe if we can talk about those things. But the rose bush was a big deal.
Why was the rose bush such a big deal?
Well, we have the competitions here for the yards, and the rose bush was always my prize winner, but something that I'm very proud of, and I have had competitions here that I've been successful in with my rose bush, and it was given to me by my aunt 20 years ago, and I've taken a lot of good care of that, and having that kind of sideswiped was a really big hit to me personally. I put a lot of effort into that, and it was hurtful. I felt hurt when that was hurt because that has a lot of emotional connection to that rose bush, and that's why I asked for such a large amount of money because it is an expensive bush. It's almost $300 for the bush itself. But then I did ask for it because there's a lot of emotional attachment to that rose bush.
I had no idea. I just assumed that it was just a shrub that you had let overgrow into my yard.
Yeah.
And I totally did not realize that it had so much sentimental value behind it.
Yeah, most of the bushes, are just normal, but the rose bush was really important. Of course, I feel protective of all of my yards, but the rose bush was a sad thing for it to go. So I felt hurt when that was, and I know you didn't know that, or couldn't have known that, and I should have done better explaining that, but that was kind of why I acted the way I did when that happened. I know that's what you're asking for, was my opinion on things, and that was hard.
So you kind of, you feel like the reason that you, felt so strongly whenever you approached me about it was not only because, it is an award-winning rose bush, and, it looks really nice to the neighbors in the neighborhood, and you want your house to be seen as, one of the nicer houses on the block, but also, that rose bush is kind of a family treasure. Yeah. And so that's why you felt so strongly and so hurt.
Yeah, that was the big thing, and I didn't articulate that well the first time I came to you. I was really emotional at the time, and I still am, but I had a lot of emotions flowing, and that's why I came so strongly to you. So I want to apologize for that. That was a little bit rough when he just ran at you with that. But yeah, that was why I felt the way I did on that one. That you got it there.
Okay. So what? When you were feeling angry about this in the beginning, especially after the rosebush incident happened, and then whenever you called the cops because my kids were playing their music too loudly, what were your initial reactions to that?
Well, the kids were being loud, yeah, but they are all the time. Not all the time, but a lot of the time, and usually it's okay. But I was a lot of emotion. I was feeling kind of rushed at the time, like mentally, just a lot of emotions going on, and so whenever it was loud, it just kind of I just went over the edge, and called. So that was part of the reasons why the police were called. I usually wouldn't bring the police into a situation like this. I was on edge at the time. I was really worried about the rose bush and everything. So yeah, that would kind of explain me going off the deep end so quickly on that one.
Okay. Would you say that you kind of resorted to calling the police because you were feeling really aggravated and like you had just had it up to here with the kids?
Well, that plus I also feel kind of unheard on your side. Whenever I talk to you, sometimes I don't feel like anything ever gets done. I kind of feel, like I said earlier, disrespected, but more just unheard like that. I will bring complaints to you, and a lot of times they're just kind of thrown out the window, and it doesn't really, bear with you all the time. And so, I didn't want to go to you again because it felt like I was just annoying you, and I wasn't really getting anything done, so I just resorted to calling the police.
Because you felt like, if you were to come to me, I would just dismiss you again.
Yeah, dismissed is a great word to use for it. Yeah, I felt dismissed all the time like that. When I did have a problem, when I did take it to you, it just seemed like nothing was done, and so, I resorted to calling the police this time.
Okay. What other kinds of, emotions or feelings or grievances have you experienced because of my kids?
Honestly, I just felt disrespected and things. There wasn't any, not much else. I think I got most of it out right here.
Okay,
yeah.
So you feel better understood
Oh,
now?
I really do feel like I got everything out. Is there equal feelings within you would you like to release?
Yeah, if there's nothing else that you want to talk about, if you don't mind, I'd like to share my side
I
of
would
the
love
story.
to hear your side of the story too.
So Alex and Joe, though it might not seem like it, they are good kids. They're teenagers. They do get themselves in trouble from time to time. But overall, they're really good kids. And my son who hit your rose bush, he's just learning how to drive. And he feels really terrible about what he's done. I mean, it was a total accident. And I want you to know it wasn't necessarily him being careless, but just more nervous. He's been really nervous about driving, and ever since he's hit your rose bush, his confidence has been really shaken about driving, and now he's terrified to get behind the wheel of a car. But yeah, I kind of felt, like there were a lot of assumptions made about myself and my children. I felt like perhaps it was assumed that I was just a careless mother and let my kids do whatever they want, and like my kids were a bunch of hooligans. But that's not the case. They really are respectful boys. And this is a neighborhood where, like you said, you want to build relationships with your neighbors. As long as I've lived here, I felt the same way. I've tried to build relationships with all my neighbors, and we have a lot of trust in the neighborhood. So I didn't realize that my kids walking through the yard was such a big deal, and it just made me feel I felt kind of aggravated that, the boys were being treated like they were, a bunch of delinquents, and that they were, causing all this ruckus in the neighborhood, because I didn't really see it that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. So you feel kind of belittled and misunderstood that I acted so abhorrently towards the children whenever they came through the yard, and that makes sense. Is that what you?
Yeah, no, belittled is that's a very good word to explain it, because I just felt very judged. I felt like myself, my character as a mother was being judged. I felt like the reputation of my family was being judged harshly. And I don't want that to happen, because like I said, I want to have good relationships with all my neighbors. I want all my neighbors to like me and be able to trust me and my family.
So because of our relationship, maybe it was hard to be like me, just being so out there all the time. Is that kind of one of the reasons why you didn't ever want to talk to me as much?
Yeah, I feel like we've both been kind of distant, especially with the issues we've been having. Maybe we've both been kind of avoiding resolving the issues until something crazy happens, like the rose bushes, and then we end up just blowing up. And I want us to be able to openly communicate with one another whenever there are issues, and be able to just come over and knock on your door and say like, hey, how you doing? This is going on, like, what can we do about it?
Yeah. So these relationship problems, do you think that's a stem to a lot of this, or is there something else that's kind of?
Yeah, I think a big part of it is you and I getting off to such a rough start. Yeah. And like I was saying, I think a really big part of it too is just me feeling judged.
Yeah.
As a mother, and my boys being judged. I want people to think that they're, respectable young men. I try to raise them that way. So, hopefully that's the image that I'm projecting.
Yeah. So the perception of yourself is important in this, and
of course.
So that's really what you're trying to solve. Is that right?
Yeah, that too. Yeah, like I said, having good relationships with my neighbors, and my neighbors seeing me as, a person who is considerate.
Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Is there anything else that you'd like to get out? Anything else that's?
Mainly just, like I said, another thing, us actually, having some type of deal worked out to where we actually can communicate about these things.
Yeah, I feel like this is the first time we've ever actually talked about these things, so I agree with that.
So yeah, I want us to have no problem, like I said, coming over and, asking each other favors, or, discussing some issues that we might need to resolve in the neighborhood.
So one last question about the rose bush. You said you didn't want to pay it. Was there a reason? Is it too high? What was the? Well,
in the beginning, I had just assumed that the bush was just an overgrown shrub that wasn't being maintained, and I felt kind of aggravated about the price that you asked for, because I felt like I said, I felt it was overgrown, and it had grown over onto my property line, and so for a nervous 16-year-old driver, it was honestly kind of unavoidable to hit And so originally that's why I didn't want to pay the price, but now I have more background about the value of the shrub or the value of the rose bush, and
no,
so
it's fine.
I feel very foolish for making assumptions.
Oh, well, it's fine. No, it's no big deal. I didn't, like I said earlier, I didn't articulate that at all. So, well, I feel a little bit better what you're saying. Is there anything else at all that has been pestering you with this that, because earlier you said that you felt perturbed, you've made an assumption about the bush. Was that the only reason? It wasn't anything like, that we could.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, I made assumptions that it was just some plant that wasn't being taken care of. And also, I mean, like I said, my son feels really terrible about it. And like I said, I just figured that there were probably a lot of assumptions being made that my kids are careless and that I'm careless as a mother. And you know, like as a mother, you know, what my kids feel, I feel that too. And, you know, my son, he's just very embarrassed, and now he's even more nervous to drive, and I just feel really upset that he feels that way.
Okay, so you feel upset because of your son and everything. That makes sense. So, do you think that us talking, we can conclude to anything to fix this?
Of course, yeah. That's the whole reason that I wanted to come over and sit down and talk. So, as far as figuring out how we're going to solve these issues, what kind of conditions would our solutions need to meet for you?
Well, the more we talk about it, the more I kind of understand that I walk through Josh's yard sometimes, and it's okay because we kind of have a mutual understanding, and that's something we never had. So when your kids walked across the yard, it was like aggravating because I didn't know them. So getting to know your family would honestly be a big help for me creating a relationship between us two. That would honestly be a big help because me and Josh help each other out all the time, and I feel like I've never went to you and asked for anything, or you ever went to ask me for anything, and I feel like that's something that would honestly make me more comfortable knowing who they are when they walk across my yard.
Okay.
Make me less judgmental.
Yeah, and would you also say that maybe whenever the kids need to walk through your yard, if they need to like borrow something from you or something, you would want them to at least come ask first too?
Oh, of course, yeah. Well, that's fine. I mean, that's how it usually goes around here. And if they would love to talk to me, or if you need anything, I think that'd be great. Just knock on my door. I'm usually home. So yeah.
Okay. So what other conditions do you have that you want to settle?
Well, I would also like to talk to, is it Alex or Joe that started driving? Joe?
They're twins, I don't remember.
Oh, good. I'm not making an assumption about that. Joe, I'd like to talk to him about this. I feel terrible that he's so nervous now. I mean, it is hard getting to drive. So I'd like to talk to him. First off, that was just from me to you. I would like to talk to him about everything because it's okay. I would also like to figure out what we're going to do about the rose bush, because I think it's probably going to die. I mean, it's close. That was part of the reason for the money, was to kind of redo that. But if I do redo that, I can also plant that somewhere else, because your driveway is on right beside my shrubs. So if I put it on Josh's side of the yard, I'll talk to Josh first. But if I put it on his side of the yard, his driveway's on the other side. So it wouldn't be affecting him as much if he's okay with that.
Okay.
So I can definitely work on that, because if it's going over on your driveway, that's something that I need to keep an eye on, and I wasn't doing that before. So maybe I'll talk to Josh and see. But yeah, I would like to kind of work out what we're going to do about the rose bush monetarily, because it is important to me.
Okay. If it's all right, I'd like to talk about some of the solution ideas that I had.
Yeah, I would love to hear those.
Like I mentioned before, I don't want you or anyone else in the neighborhood to think that my kids are a bunch of delinquents or that I'm a terrible, neglectful mother. So in the future, if there's an issue with the kids maybe making too much noise or just, being crazy out in the yard, I would like to avoid the police being called. So, maybe in the future, I know the kids are always out in the garage working out sometimes, playing their music too loud. So if you don't mind, if it's okay with you, maybe instead of calling the police, you could just come over and just ask them to turn their music down. I mean, they're nice boys. I'm sure they wouldn't mind. They'd probably apologize for being so, disruptive.
Yeah, well, like we said, I didn't really have a relationship with. I didn't feel comfortable doing that. But if you want me to, I would. That would be great.
Of course.
I feel much more comfortable talking to them than the police ever again. So,
Yeah.
I think that would be fine.
And also, I thought that you mentioning, getting to know my family and the boys better would be a great idea. And I think another way that they can do that, you guys can do that, and that we can also kind of get your rose bush fixed is maybe the boys could come over and help to trim up the rose bush that you have now, and maybe try to keep it from dying.
That'd be awesome.
And then if that doesn't work, maybe we can go in like half and half on getting a new one, and then, I can send the boys over, like once a week to come over and trim it and water it and feed it and everything, just to like cover the other half. And also, you could teach them how to take care of the rose bush, and that would give you an opportunity to get to know them better.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Also, when I told you the price, like I said, I did overstate the price just a little bit. So we can, work on the pricing a little bit more, because the 400 was inaccurate. So if we work on it, it won't be as steep as what it was said to be. So
Okay. Would it maybe be okay if I gave you $150 to go towards the new bush, and then sent the boys over to help you take care of it?
yeah, I think that would work. Cause that would be about right.
Okay. And as far as the boys, being loud and walking through your yard and everything else, I'll sit down and have another talk with them and
Okay.
explain to them why it's important to, respect your neighbor's privacy and respect their property and everything. And yeah, I'll talk to my son about, you and I have worked this out. There's no need to feel upset about the rose bush
I would like
anymore.
to talk to him about
Of
that. Like
course,
you said,
yeah.
I would like to get to know Joe and kind of explain to him, because driving is hard. That was, something that I was nervous about. I think we all were. So I'd like to talk to him about it. I understand that the rose bush would probably be hard to deal with after, hitting something like that. So
Yeah.
I would like to do that.
So do you have any ideas about, if maybe one day I'm not home and the boys, violate your property, or one of these ideas that we've come up with, how we should deal with that if our solutions that we have in place don't work?
Well, like you said, unless it's extreme, I could just go talk to them. I'm not going to break into your house or anything. So I'll walk over and knock on the door and kind of ask them, and if nothing's done, then I will come talk to you. We can talk about it ourselves and kind of figure out what's going on. Because I understand now that I was probably making some assumptions about you, and now I know that I think that you could easily handle it. So I would talk to you. And do you have a cell phone?
I was going to suggest the same thing.
Okay.
Maybe we could exchange cell phone numbers.
Yeah.
So if, under extreme circumstances, the boys are just acting crazy, you can text me and I will deal with that when I get home.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. I think that will work really well.
All right, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. And I think that,
Yeah, I think
that
that
all
we-
sounds good.
I think we've covered all the bases.
All right, well,
Yeah.
it was good talking
Thank
to
you.
you,
Good to meet
Reiley.